No. No. There we go. All right. So I had notes for you, and Lindsay, in my scatterbrain, I forgot to get them printed off. So Lindsay's going to do that for you, because I have a lot tonight as far as just it's just things to think about. So let's review over where we started from. We started 2 weeks ago talking about dating, right? We said dating is a long-term commitment with the goal of marriage in mind. This is what dating is meant to be. It's not about having fun, which hopefully you do. I mean, hopefully it's not a miserable relationship that you're in, but hopefully you're having fun. That's great, but it's bigger than that. It's bigger than just having fun or being happy. But it's ultimately, dating is supposed to lead towards marriage, and it's more than your happiness, but it's your holiness. Is it drawing you to God, or is it pulling you away from God? Is what we asked. It's more than, oh, this is really popular. That's not what it's about. It doesn't matter if everybody else is dating. It doesn't matter who has a boyfriend, who has a girlfriend. Is it drawing you to God, or is it pulling you away from God? We said it's not about. It's not your purpose. Your purpose is not made up of who am I dating right now. Your identity is not found in that, but it's found in knowing God and making Him known. This is our purpose in life, and if that is our purpose, then our dating relationships should fall under that purpose. Our purpose helps define those relationships, because if it's more than just our happiness, but it's about God and it's about making Him known and it's about making us more like Him, then that would mean dating is a little bit more serious than what we take it. And we also said that, hey, because of that, because it is geared towards marriage, that, hey, maybe you're not ready for that, and that is okay. That is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We said that also, that maybe your parents have certain rules in place, and you need to listen to them. If you can't date to a certain age, then hey, that's the rule, and that's great, because your parents are looking out for you. They love you and they want the best for you. Maybe it's, hey, group date, you can do that. That's great. Or they may have certain things in place. That's great. That's wonderful. You obey your parents when it comes to this. You obey them all the time, but when it comes to dating as well, I know that's sometimes a point of difficulty between students and their parents. We also talked last week that ultimately we shouldn't obsess so much over, oh, who is the one? Who am I going to marry? Who am I going to marry? Who should I date? Who should I date? We need to first focus on ourselves. Stop worrying about who is the one, but let's start worrying about being the one. Being worthy to be called somebody's boyfriend, girlfriend, worthy of being called somebody's husband, somebody's wife. And we said, how do we do that? But it's by pursuing Christ. It's by going after Christ. You want to be worthy of something as serious as dating and as serious as marriage? Something that is as huge and as wonderful and as magnificent as marriage, that is as holy as marriage, that God has created, the creator of this world has created marriage. You want to be worthy of it, then you need to seek after Him. You need to pursue Him, because we said, here's what God does for us. When we put Him first in our life, we make Him the center of our life. What does He do for us? But He provides for us. He guides us. We said that He's good to us. We said that He gives us a future, that He gives us hope. So you're like, oh, I'm going to be single forever. Oh, my Lord, it's going to be awful, right? So it's, hey, you know what? You read Jeremiah. It says, hey, I have plans for you, plans to prosper you, plans for your goodness. Not for your hurt, not to harm you. I have plans for your goodness. And it says you'll seek me, you'll find me when you seek me with all your heart. You'll call to me and I will answer you. It's what He tells us to say. I have a future planned for you. I have hope out there for you, but you have to seek me. You have to call out to me. I will take care of you. I will provide. And so we talk about not just looking for the one, but being the one. And that comes with following Christ. Well, now tonight, I do want us to talk about, hey, what do we look for? What should we look for in this person, this our soulmate, the one? What are we supposed to look for here? You watch movies and TV, and they just go crazy about the one, and it's like, oh, okay, so what is it about this person? It's like, oh, it's the way he looks in my eyes, and we don't even have to say anything. We can just look in each other's eyes because we know what we're thinking. I can tell you what the guy's thinking. He's like, why is she staring at me for so long? I've got other things to do. I like to watch the game. Stop looking at me. This is what the guy's thinking. It's, oh, he just holds my hand. My hand fits so perfectly in his. Well, yeah, we have gaps in between our fingers, so we're going to hold hands. You can hold hands with anybody. It's okay. It's all of this. It's like he just knows when to hold me when I'm mad. He knows how to. he gives me kisses and it makes me just sort of, listen, when we had dogs, my dog would lick my face all the time and it made me happy. Because it was like, she was given sugar. Hey, she was given sugar, okay?
That's gross.
What? Good Lord, it was on the cheek, it wasn't on the mouth, okay? It was, so, she was showing that made me happy, So, we look at these things, we're like, oh, it's this and that. It's like, okay, maybe that's nice, but that's not really what we should be looking for. Is, oh, well, does my hand fit nicely into his hand? That's not a great quality to look for when it comes to dating. We don't have it. Okay, I'll get them to you next week then. So, but so what should we look for in the one? What is it that we need to look for? Let me go over a few things that maybe are signs that they're not the one. First of all, and maybe just try to grab a few things. And like I said, I can maybe even get them tonight for you, but I'll get the notes for you as well. So what's maybe signs that they're not the one? That somebody is not somebody that I should be dating, or I need to be very wary about. Anyways, I need to be cautious about. One is if they're not a believer. 2 Corinthians 6:14 tells us not to be unequally yoked. So I think we got the scripture. There it says, "Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? Or what fellowship has light with darkness?" The term yoked, it's the idea of being hitched up, is what it means. You're tied together, you're bound together. And these days, what they would do is they're carrying carts off, or maybe as they're farming, they maybe have like a tiller or something. They're pulling behind the animals. They would take these animals and they would hitch them together, and they called it a yoke. They put the yoke on the animals. And, if you had two animals that are pulling something and one tries to go left, one tries to go right, it's not going to work. Or you got one who wants to go forward and the other one just doesn't want to move anywhere. It doesn't work. If you were to date an unbeliever, it doesn't matter how good they are, how nice they are, how hot they are. It doesn't matter any of that. If they are not a believer, they are not going in the same direction as you. If you're a Christian, they're not going in the same direction as you. They may be good people and they may be wonderful, and that's fantastic. I'm glad they're nice, but they're not ultimately going in the same direction as you. If your goal is to pursue God and to know God and make Him known, that's not the goal of a non-believer. And if that's going to be arguably your closest relationship, is a dating relationship, maybe next to your best friend and maybe your parents, that's going to be one of your most influential relationships is a dating relationship. If that is if that's one of your most influential relationships and closest relationships, it does not need to be with a person who has different goals in mind, who has different concerns. Because one person's conduct, one person's direction in life, it strongly influences and can even control somebody else's direction and conduct. I've seen too many stories of people, one who was a believer, one who was not a believer, and to watch not that the person who was a non-believer get hurt, but I've seen the Christian be torn off, be torn apart, their faith messed up because they dated this person, shouldn't have been dating them, and when it didn't go right, they began to blame God. And so what this means for you is you cannot missionary date. Anybody know what missionary dating is? You ever heard that term? That means if there's a believer, you are not going to save somebody through dating. You're not going to save anybody through dating. You say, oh, I just want them to be saved. And you know what? And guys can fall into it, but man, it is something that girls fall into over and over again. That, oh, he's sweet, he's nice, I'm trying to get him to come to church. Hey, that's great. Get him to come to church. That's wonderful. You can be friends with him. That's fantastic. But if you want him saved, then you need to be praying for him. You need to be praying that God would move in his life. You need to be seeking out, there are guys who are Christians that you can say, hey, I want you to pour into this guy. But you cannot date him. You cannot put yourself in that kind of relationship. You cannot put yourself into that sort of personal and intimate connection with somebody. Because ultimately they're not going the same way as you are. You want to be friends with them? Fantastic, wonderful. Be friends with them, pray for them, but you cannot date them or it will end in disaster. More times than not, it ends badly. So if they're not a believer, X them off the line. I don't care what they look like. I don't care how the most popular person they are. It does not matter. Do not go into a relationship like that. Do not. If they're not a believer, knock it out. No. Secondly, if they're dishonest, if you're married, and this could be a believer, this could be somebody who's a Christian as well. If they're dishonest, man, if they're going to lie to you, you don't need any of that. You need to get away from that. Because if they're lying to you now, they're going to lie to you in the future. If they're just going to be completely dishonest with you, then you need to watch out for that. If they're going to be unfaithful, You know, guy, you're talking to your girls like, yeah, man, I only got, you're my only girl. You're my only girl, and some of this girl walks by and their head just kind of turns and they just kind of watch. Hey, careful. And they say unfaithfulness. You don't need anybody with wandering eyes, guys or girls. You don't need anybody with wandering eyes or a wandering heart. Someone who is faithful, who will be loyal at least while you're in that relationship. If that relationship ends, okay, but may it not be because somebody has wandering eyes or a wandering heart. So unfaithfulness. You don't need anybody who's unfaithful. You need to watch after that. You need to guard that. Someone who is irrational and who is controlling, who is jealous, someone who flies off the handle, you need to watch out for. Someone who just, they don't get their way. They don't like you talking to somebody. So why are you talking to that girl? That's what she said hello to me. So I'm saying hey bye. And they fly off the handle. You need to stay away from it. You need to get away from it. They're going to control you, tell you what you can and can't do. No. You need to watch out for that. You need to be careful for that. Careful of that. That's not what you need to be in. Because a lot of times that can very much end in a bad situation. And that's not a situation you want to be put in. If they treat their family not poorly or nicely, you need to watch how they treat their family. You need to watch how they treat their family. And I'm serious about this. You want to know, especially about guys, if you want to know how a guy's going to treat you ultimately, you need to watch how he treats his mama. You need to watch that. Because if he ain't loving his mama, if he's back talking and yelling or whatever, disrespecting his mama, it's a good chance he's going to do the same to you. Because, hey, listen, that's mama. That's mama. That's the one who brought him into this world. That's the one who can take him out of this world. Yeah, and so if you're going to talk to mama like that, you don't talk to anybody like that. And so you need to be careful. You need to watch how does he treat his mama. Guys, watch how they treat their family. Watch how she treat her dad. Watch how they interact with their family. You need to watch these things. This may be signs of these may be red flags for you to say, okay, we need to take a step back here. What's some things that we can consider? What's some things that we should maybe consider? Let me give you something that everybody should consider, and then I'll give you a few things for guys and then a few things for girls. And when we go through this, by the way, last week we talked about, this is really a continuation of last week, because we talked about, hey, we don't need just to worry about the one, we need to be the one, right? Well, I'm going to give you some stuff that helps you be the one. To look at, say, okay, so if I'm talking to girls, guys, you need to be listening, saying, okay, this is some qualities I need to be working on. If I'm talking to guys, then you need to look at it and say, okay, this is what I need to be thinking about, what I need to be working on. Because I want to be somebody who's worthy of being married. I want to be somebody who's worthy of being called a husband or a wife, a fiance. I want to be worthy of these terms and worthy of a relationship that God Himself has made. And so let's listen to these things when we talk about being a believer. And not just a believer, but you need somebody who's really pursuing God. Somebody who's really going after God. Somebody who's on fire for God. That's what you need to go after. So a believer, first and foremost. You want to date someone who is a believer. Hey, you want to date someone? You don't just need a boyfriend or girlfriend, though. You need a friend. You're going to learn a whole lot about somebody by having a friendship. And so it can't just be, oh, they're my boyfriend, and you know nothing about them. That's awful. That's no relationship at all. You need a friendship to be a foundational part of it. So if you're thinking about dating, if this is your thing, you need to think about a friendship. You need to get to know them before you allow yourself to go even further into this relationship. So you need to not just have a boyfriend or girlfriend, but you need a friend. Because I'll tell you what, man, my best friend is Lindsay, and she has been my best friend. We became friends in college. We that's how our relationship started, was as a friendship. We didn't even know we were dating, apparently, because everybody else said we were dating, but we didn't know it because we went to Walmart one day, and that's what dates were back then, I guess. Listen, when you're in a town of 1,000, Walmart is a big deal for you. And so,
was it Super Walmart?
It was.
Yeah, it was Super Walmart. So.
Yeah.
Hey, had McDonald's. So you need a friendship. You need a friendship. Hey, attraction. And it's like, this is an obvious one, right? But hey, listen, I'm not talking about like, oh man, they are fine. I'm not just talking about. I'm talking more about an emotional connection than a physical attraction. Because how many times, and you probably know this, how many times have you seen, like, man, just drop dead gorgeous girl, and then she opens her mouth,